I'm a professional editor and I've always wanted to expand my horizons by talking to other editors and sound designers, music composers, visual effects supervisors, essentially all the magicians who silently and invisibly work behind the scenes. This series is an attempt to make the invisible artists visible. I hope you enjoy the conversations.
Hello and welcome to the second episode of The Finest Cut. I have with me today acclaimed sound designer Ganesh Gangadharan, who's worked on some fabulous films, award-winning sound designer, and also a very dear friend. Hi Ganesh, welcome to the show.
Hey Antara, thank you so much for inviting me to your new show. And anyway, we've always been planning to catch up, and this is how it happened finally.
Yeah.
I'm very happy.
So I thought I'll catch up with you for a chat because I've known you for many years and I've obviously followed your work as well. I thought let's chat a bit more and kind of get into more detail about sound designing because I feel we all kind of know what it is, but I think the many layers that are involved in the process of designing a film. I think most people, even people who work within the film industry, are probably not very clued into that. So I thought I'll ask you some questions, which will hopefully throw some light on the workflow and processes that you follow. So, firstly, I wanted to know whenever someone comes to you with a film, do you have any particular check boxes that you look for, or something that convinces you that okay, I want to do this film?
Usually when someone approaches me for a movie for sound, the only criteria is that they approach me. So I look at it as an opportunity. So I don't really think beyond that at that point. Because see, as an artist, I believe that you're given a work, you're given a job. Our job is to do accomplish it very well, irrespective of what is given to you. I mean, this is my personal take on it.
Absolutely,
Uh,
absolutely.
Absolutely. The thing is that so, like I told you, the only criteria is that you approach me for something. I will try and do my best for that. It could be a big budget film. I don't really mind even if it's your Shadi ka video. Whatever
Right,
I can do on it, I'll definitely try and do it. That's my take on it.
right. So when someone has approached you and you've decided to work on a film, how involved are you with the prep? Like sometimes directors want a lot of involvement right from pre-production. And also, what kind of discussions do you have with the director before the film, comes to you?
Okay. So usually I don't do location sound. I do only sound design. And there have been times when even if I'm offered to read the script, I sometimes don't do it. Again, this is my style of working because what happens is uh, I believe that the sound design happens actually on the table on post production is where the entire design happens. You could have written whatever you may want in the script, but when you shoot it and finally it comes to my table after the edit, that is the true feel of the film. I cannot honestly prepare for that scene or how to treat it visually or with sound. What is the vibe of that scene cannot be decided until I really see it. I mean, because if I start reading the script, I might have visualized it in a different way, but when it's shot and when it comes to me, it's a completely new vision of the director, the DOP, the editor, right? So I don't really uh, uh, think about the design when I'm in the pre-production stage. But
Right.
there have been situations where I've read the script and given them an input, my suggestions, but that is not really based on sound at all. It is
Hmm.
about what I feel about the script. What are the things that I feel if I felt that there is some link that doesn't connect, or those kind of things,
Ah,
logical issues or something. Those kind of things I generally discuss with the director. And I don't even ask them for a feedback. I just make my notes and I just discuss with them that these are the 4 points that I felt. sometimes they have a clarification for that. Sometimes they think over there. They might even say that we could consider you know altering it in a certain way, but otherwise, mostly that's it. I leave it there.
Right, right. So, following from this, now you've done sound design for so many different kinds of films. I recently watched Human, and you've done the sound design for that as well. So, I was really intrigued, particularly that is there a difference in sound design when you're approaching a film uh, and versus like, a web series?
See, the approach mostly is technical
Hmm.
because now we have a medium which was large, what you call the large format. We used to go to a theater and enjoy the atmosphere sound versus now you are also watching the same content on a device like a mobile phone.
Hmm.
So how do you balance it down? Like you
Right.
can't do different mixes, you can't do different designs for each platform. Across everything, what remains same is the vibe, is the feel of that movie. Like the movie decides that this is my zone. And say, for example, if I have to tell you, a punch in an action film will sound very different from a punch in a very realistic space.
Hmm.
Although both are punches, but it's not treated the same way. But film versus OTT, the difference is mostly only technical. Meaning, I might choose to avoid certain kind of sounds when I'm designing something for OTT alone, just OTT. Say, for example, if it's a LFE heavy track, like if there's a lot of rumble, I'm gonna want to use the rumble so much because I will be able to enjoy the rumble in my studio, but the moment it translates to some other mobile device or
Yeah.
whatever, it's completely gone. So it's as good as
Yeah.
silence.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
try not to involve those kind of sounds in the design. That is one
Hmm.
thing. Second is if something is designed only for OTT again, one more factor is that the dynamic range of things. Now, dynamic range means the difference between the softest to the loudest sound in a theater, because you have full range speakers all around. You have LFEs, subwoofers to only play off your sub frequencies. Whereas on any other device, you don't have that kind of
Yeah.
luxury or kind of a frequency division. So what essentially we can do is, so theaters actually give you a lot of dynamic range. Like a whisper can be really a whisper, and the gunshot can be like really loud. Whereas for OTT, everything has to fit in this space. Say I'm emerging.
Yeah.
If the film is your dynamic range, the OTT will give you this dynamic range.
Yeah.
So the softest sound will be here and the loudest sound will be here. And that is what is expected also, because what happens is if I'm watching a series or movie on television, I don't want to control my volume every time. Like if a
Yeah.
soft scene comes up, I don't want to increase the volume. And if a loud scene comes, I don't want to decrease the volume, right? That's very irritating. That takes you
Yeah.
out of the film.
Yeah.
And complete. So this is something that when I started watching, I never used to watch a lot of OTTs, but during the lockdown, whenever we all did that, I guess. We got time to watch some stuff on Netflix and Prime and Hotstar, any platform. We started watching these things more. We realized that the mixes were getting, sometimes it used to be a little struggle because the environment in which we watch a movie is very different from the
Yeah.
environment we watch an OTT.
Yeah.
Because right now you are sitting outside your window on your whatever 30th 40th floor, and you're watching it. You can hear the entire city,
Yeah.
right? And it's plus you have to hear what is happening on the screen. So generally, the advantage of being keeping a lesser dynamic range is that if even a whisper to gunshot, everything remains in the same space, within more or less in the same space. So you don't have to really worry about your mixing skills over what the engineer has
Ah.
done. Yeah, yeah. So
Right.
that I would say these two are the fundamental things to keep in mind when you design for OTT and for theater. Otherwise, see, sound wise, hardly anything is compromised like that. Design wise, I don't think there is any kind of compromise that happens.
Right. For just now deviating a little from technicalities, if you were to tell a lay person, what is the ideal way that they can listen to your sound design at home?
Ah.
What would your advice be?
See, the thing is, it is not honestly upon them to uh, make an effort to hear what I've done. It is
Hmm.
on me. It is on me to make sure that whatever system you're using,
Whatever, yeah,
at least
yeah,
you should not miss out the feel of the film. That is
right,
more important. I don't believe in this small intricacies like, Adha dB upar, Adha dB niche and all that things.
yeah,
Because what happens now, because I've seen also people very particular about these things. But that difference is just a difference that you're shifting from your first row to your third row.
right,
You cannot say that, you have to sit in this particular place and see the film, right? Because a theater is a very wide space. 90% of the experience has to remain what do you say, remain more or less the same for everyone. Experience,
right,
I'm saying. If you start thinking in terms of the level, loudness, or the frequency getting absorbed, or these things, then
Hmm.
there is no end to it.
Absolutely,
I
absolutely,
I could be using an iPhone, OnePlus, or a Samsung. My how much ever I'm gonna EQ something very particular, it's gonna sound all different on
all
each of my
absolutely,
platform.
yeah, yeah,
Absolutely, it's just
yeah,
a model A to model B transition. So
yeah,
you cannot depend on those sounds, which are going to make so much of a difference if I just shift from one mobile A to mobile B.
right. But does this
So,
also, as a sound designer, does this also affect you? Like, let's say when you're moving from one preview room to another preview room, uh,
uh,
does sometimes the director be like, but it sounded different there and
yeah,
sounds different here. So how do you kind of get that judgment of where it's sounding?
see, mostly, if you've done your mix correctly, if you've done your
Hmm.
design and mix correctly, the only difference that you're gonna feel like apparent difference is going to be the level difference. Okay,
Right.
so level is at everyone's convenience. I've had producers, directors call me and saying that, oh, we mix something and it's not sounding like how we saw it in the theater. This
Hmm.
has happened, and then I come to the shoot where they are previewing it, and I see that whoever has been operating that has kept at a very low volume, or maybe the setting was 5.1 for a stereo mix,
Right.
or
Oh
the
God.
stereo file was playing in a 5.1 setting, vice
Oh.
versa, either ways.
Right.
So levels are all haywire, and then I just walk in, increase the volume,
Yeah.
and they're like, this is right.
Now this. Right.
I tell them, you're not going to call your DOP to switch on the TV, right?
Yeah.
No, but that's fine. I'm totally, because that's also a learning experience for me.
Yeah.
When I come in and I figure out, oh, these kind of things can also happen.
We face this with the edit also. That a lot of times we
Huh.
watch, if you level it for one room, then you have to go to the studio's preview room and show it, and
Yeah,
then
yeah, yeah.
it's gone haywire. So I think, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
very difficult
absolutely.
to gauge.
I think mostly this happens mostly with audio. Mostly with audio. Second would
Yeah.
be with picture where you feel that it's a little dark or a little bright. But
Yeah.
you're lucky that way because edit is not going to change.
Yeah. No, but we still
कौन
get, we
एक्टर आ गया
still,
ये तो था ही नहीं पिक्चर में ऐसा नहीं बोलेगा कोई
no, no, bilkul. But we still have, it's happened to me twice where we have leveled in the offline, edit offline. We've gone to the studio's preview room and it's all over the place because we are outputting stereo and these people have like 5.1 setups. So
yeah
some
yeah
places
yeah
I can't hear music, some places the dialogue has gone somewhere else. So it's happened a lot of times. So yeah, I feel your pain.
mm-hmm. Absolutely. And one thing I also noticed that the editor is actually the first sound designer, and sometimes
Yeah.
it could be good or bad, both.
Ah,
Because your choice of sounds while you edit it, when
yes.
you have other priorities, you will put the first sound that comes to your search. You add that, and the content developer, the basically your director and producer gets hooked onto that sound.
I was going to ask you that. It's a requirement for us to put like reference BGM and reference sound, but I always feel very apologetic because unfortunately
Uh,
people get attached to the
yeah.
sound. which is, I suppose, a human response in a sense. How do you deal with that? Like, how do you break someone out of that um, attachment?
See, it's it's not an easy task, to be very honest.
Hmm.
One thing that helps you in that is sometimes when they feel that they are dealing with someone who's done a lot of work,
Right.
it gets a little
Right.
easier. It gets a
Yeah.
little easier. I'm not even saying that it's a lot easier. I'll just tell them and they will accept it. No,
Yeah.
I tell them right at the beginning of the project or while they're editing only. I tell them, please, you can use whatever sounds. If you want, sounds, you ask me. I'll give you sounds.
Ah.
Okay, that is one way of doing it. Second thing is that I tell them, you use whatever sound, but please don't get attached to it. So they have that in their mind that this is going to be a 10 sound.
Yeah.
They already have that in mind. Otherwise, it is going to be a problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Problem in the sense like not because it's not about even sound choice. It could be sometimes an MP3 temp file that's downloaded off the YouTube, which is not a
Hmm.
very high resolution file.
Yeah.
It's cracking or it's clipping, and these kind of things happen. And then they said, "Nay, that feels what I want." Then it gets a little different.
Huh.
But then
But I think,
ultimately,
yeah, no, I think that's a great workflow which you were saying, no, that maybe at the point when you're the editor's working on the offline, they can share that this is a list of sounds we require, so that everyone's on the same page from the beginning. I think that's
absolutely, that is
yeah,
done. That is done a lot in a lot of production. Some production also actually, Virab does it.
right,
They
yeah,
send one person with the drive with a list of sounds that they need.
ah,
It's also the thing is now, see, as an editor, you have other things to do, right? You don't
yeah,
want to be sitting and searching the right sound. So it also makes your job easy. You tell me,
absolutely,
I need like, I need hits, I need a train, I need jet fighters, or whatever you
yeah,
want.
yeah,
I make a
yeah,
folder and I make a folder and I give it to you. So at least I
yeah,
know that, these libraries are good libraries. So you can take all those
ah,
sounds.
right,
And
right, great.
actually, I'm also, sometimes we also share a lot of libraries with the editors. And there are a lot of sounds that are recorded on the location. And it's good that the
Right,
editor has those sounds also, absolutely. It
right,
makes a lot of sense.
like ambiances and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Ambiences, effects. There are so many rare things that sometimes you record. Like if you have to record an ambassador right now, you might have used one on the location. Then if that has the
Yeah,
right engine,
yeah,
sometimes they put a dummy engine, but
yeah,
if they have the right engine, then why not? They
yeah.
record. And there are good location recording engineers who go take that extra effort and they record and make a library and give it to the sound designer.
So, but as you said, you don't do location yourself.
Hmm.
Let's say they've gone to a place where there's a very specific sort of ambience or a specific sort of soundscape. Do you brief the person
Hmm.
that this is what you require texturally?
So in this case, there have been situations where I've personally gone and recorded effects. If it's like a really rare thing, like we
Yeah,
did that for Doom 3 actually, because when that Doom 3 was out, the bike that they used, the K1300, the BMW K1300, they did not have that bike. That was the first launch, worldwide launch, and that also launched in India.
right.
So we didn't have that sound. So we took the bike and we went to Film City, did some rounds with whatever was available, whatever road was available there.
Right.
We did whatever we could do. And also, me and my location engineer, we have a discussion like, when they tell us, this is the place, then I tell them, they will go out after the shoot, before the shoot, do whatever, send an assistant, but get some ambiences recorded if it
Ah,
makes sense. Absolutely, that
right.
helps really.
Right. So then once the edit has come to you, what is like, is there a process you have? Like, first you kind of watch it. How do you break down the soundscape and kind of decide, okay, this is what I'm going to do?
Um, See, when you see the film, the the movie communicates to you, right? Like what is the space of that movie? And to be very honest, I really don't have to decide on that. It just happens naturally, right?
Naturally, it comes. Okay.
Naturally, yeah. Because what happens is now it's an evening, it's a calm, pleasant, serene evening. Then automatically those kinds of tracks are what you search for. because
Hmm.
when you see it visually, it's just blank. But sometimes some sound plays in your head, right?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna imagine that sound. You have to visual. I can't use the term visualize. Maybe audiolize the sound. So you imagine that sound in your head, and then you try and create that. That's what happens. I don't have to make a lot of effort to imagine it.
Hmm.
The effort is to find those tracks.
Fine. Right.
So the maximum time taken is to, like, out of whatever number of GB or TB or library that we have, you have to scroll through and just try and find that sound. So sound selection is the most time consuming process in the whole design, I would say.
Yeah.
Editing is next, but finding the right sound is
Definitely.
what takes most of the time.
So now, since you said like you have a location recordist, and most of our films nowadays are recorded sync sound on location. What kind of challenges, like, do you have actors, let's say, who don't want to wear lapel mic, or what are the problems that are coming up, and why are films being dubbed if so much money has been spent and they've been shot sync sound?
Hmm. Hmm. So one of the reasons why I would say that there have been situations where we have used 99% location sound. 99%. One or two dialogues here and there for
Hmm.
performance. Otherwise, there have been places where we are sure that we can use most of it.
Hmm.
One of the reasons for that is also technology, because nowadays softwares are so good that
Huh.
even dialogues from rain scenes also can be salvaged, and they've done that. And
Right.
there are a couple of softwares, they've actually pushed the limit, and it's unbelievable. Like sometimes, I don't endorse any of these products. I don't want to take one name.
Yeah.
There are at least two or three softwares where really good, and I really
Hmm.
appreciate the team behind that. They've done that research and they keep updating it. So that has
Right.
been a good thing. Another reason, now coming back to the reasons why we have to dub, is one is that, so sometimes an action
Hmm.
sequence where there's a lot of fan blowing and wind blowing, all those things, and
Yeah.
again it becomes challenging. But there have been also places, because the way the softwares are getting better, they're actually helping us to remove even those kind of sounds.
Okay.
One other reason could be the production and the sound team in the location. They are all not on the same page sometimes.
Okay.
You have to value the performance of an actor,
Hmm.
and sound that way I think can be very easily overlooked unless you are a seasoned filmmaker. You will never
Yeah.
understand, sensible filmmaker, you will never understand the difference between a sing sound dialogue and a dub dialogue, especially with a lot of actors. Sometimes it's genuinely difficult for them to recreate that. How much at the end of the day, I understand that it's art. It's supposed to be difficult to recreate, but there are also what do you say, like a generation of artists who've done that all the
Yeah.
time. They
Yeah.
are really good at it. They are
Yeah. Yeah.
really good at it. They
Yeah.
can, if the slightest of articulations, they can recreate sometimes,
Yeah. Yeah.
and basically what they can mimic themselves. How they did it? They can exactly perform the same thing. A lot of artists find it also very difficult, and so it's generally, I would say, because the entire set has a certain energy.
Hmm.
When you're performing, your co-actor is on the set, you have a dialogue exchange. That energy is very different from you enter a dark room, you see yourself on the screen and you perform. It's very different. It's very
Yeah.
different. So
Yeah.
that is one thing. Second is that, or rather, I would say, if the director is really supportive of his craft, which comes to, these things included, then it becomes a lot easier.
Hmm.
Like even if an artist says that, I don't want to use a label, if the director sometimes requests them, okay, you should wear the label because it's making so much of a difference, and they're convinced, then that helps a lot.
Yeah.
And then again, one more thing is that a senior location engineer versus
Ah.
a
You were
new, that makes a lot of
right.
difference. That is, I think, one of the main reasons why senior recording engineers are paid much, much better than the others is also because the way
Right.
they handle the entire show in terms of
Right.
sound. The moment you're deciding that it's a sync-sound film, you have to make certain choices right there.
Mm. Yeah.
So it's all about that. Basically it's about your homework, how much of effort you're willing to put in before for a good product. Ultimately, it's all about that. Like I could find one sound in my fifth search also, but if I'm still looking for a better sound, you know what? We have to invest that little extra. Maybe you will get something better.
Yeah.
But that's on ongoing search, right?
Yeah.
So it's like that. How else can we make this even better sync sound friendly? For
Right.
whatever reason it is, it could be how you collaborate with your costume. There are sync sound friendly costumes that if they can be used, they should use that.
Right.
And
So
a lot of
which
things
won't
like
give
that,
rustle and all. Which won't give like a rustle,
Yeah, yeah,
that
absolutely.
sort of thing.
Exactly. Lesser of vessels and lesser of footsteps. How can create your flow? How can create your shoes so that there is no
Right.
footstep that comes over your dialogue? These kind of little things. I mean,
Interesting.
if you have to accomplish a greater level of work, you have to do a little hard work there. It's not achieved easily.
Yeah.
You have to push. You have to sometimes, to get a real good work, you have to put that extra sometimes.
Hmm. So I wanted to know now. This is more of like for my own understanding. A lot of times we are sending you edits which are like first cuts or they're not locked edits. If let's say I send you a cut and then after a few and you started work on it and after a few days a full restructure happens and all, which happens all the time, I think. Does that affect you creatively as a sound designer? Like, does it throw you off?
See, that affects in a certain way, but there is nothing that we can do about it. Nothing that anybody can do about it because
Mm.
we also understand, or we are supposed to also understand that you're looking at it from a perspective where you are trying to make it better for the film, right?
Mm.
You are not doing it for my convenience.
Yeah.
You are bothered about the film, correct?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but one thing that has happened again in the recent past is that again technology has come to our help.
Right.
Earlier, this used to be a very manual process. You have to sit there and you have to edit everything, match frames, and then that's how it was done. Now we have softwares for that.
Yeah.
Provided we have a good editor, you give me a new EDL versus you give me the old EDL, this
Yeah.
software will perfectly edit it and give it to me. I just have to do the
Right.
smoothing. So that is earlier something used to take one day. Now
Yeah.
it takes 1 hour. Only thing is that you have to invest in those softwares and you have to,
Right.
you have
Right.
to, you have to catch up with what is happening around because
Right.
this is not that something is going to change.
Right.
The moment everything got digital, it has also helped that you can even make last minute changes. Earlier, perhaps the things that you couldn't do.
Yeah.
If you feel that helps the movie, and if you genuinely believe that it's going to make it better, then why not?
Yeah.
Then you should do it. You are not going to look at anybody else's convenience because everyone looks at the movie. We are all working towards that goal, right?
Yeah.
So we use technology now, so then we don't have to break our head.
Yeah.
We just, the only time is that we should have good editors who know exactly how to create a decent. You might laugh because you know why? It might be like a very easy task for you. You might be like, that is not Antara how it happens. You'll be
really?
shocked. Oh yeah. You'll be shocked. One EDL has got nothing to do with anything. Like just completely like it could be some tracks are missing. The EDL is not leaking.
Oh my
files are not there. That has also happened by the way. We don't have a beep, so beep अलग से दे दिया. You tell me.
Really?
हाँ, ये भी हुआ है.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So now tell me, so while we're talking about your process, you are heading a very large team. So you'll have a sound other than yourself. You'll have a sound editor. You'll have like someone to do Foley. You'll have someone who's managing the dubs, and obviously also to an extent the mixing engineer. Are you? How are you recruiting these people? I know at YRF you have your own team, but outside of YRF, if you have to work, What are the skills and qualities you're looking for in each of these people?
See, there are two factors. One is that, of course, the skill of the person. Initially, couple of projects, you figure out even when you're working with somebody new. The first thing is, of course, how that person can gel with the team. That's very,
Hmm.
very important. Okay. Now, how much ever we stress on the fact that it has to be creative, you have to be technically good on this or that or whatever. First thing is that you have to your what do you say temperament has
Hmm.
to be right.
Okay.
Second thing is that of course you have to be skilled. You have to be somebody who is as passionate as your team is generally. I mean, you want to make that you want to do that little good work.
Yeah.
Something is easy. It is something is possible. It is being done, which is good enough sometimes. But I also work with people who are willing to take it one step ahead.
Hmm.
So it's a nice touch, nice surprise. Things that even as a team when you are collectively looking at you, you feel good that you worked on this project and it feels great. And I would say
Hmm.
Shamshera recently, Shamshera was like a great example for that. We loved working on the sequences and everything came out. Sound wise, I would say that because that's my department. I would say that
Yeah.
it was a very satisfying experience. Then there is also budget that comes into play. Sometimes when you
Hmm.
decide mixing studios and all that, and sometimes there is a clash. You cannot mix at X studio, then you have to go to Y studio. Provider we have a good engineer there, and I generally work with two or three engineers, and I'm very comfortable with them because they understand the. It's not about understanding my sound, but I feel that they always understood the content and they work
Ah.
towards that. It's so that means I like their approach. And then again, something else happens. I come back. I keep coming back. That's how it happens. Sound editors again, like I told you, the temperament. I mean, generally, it's applicable to the entire thing. Your temperament, your your how creative you are, and how passionate about your work, and how well you go with the what you see with the content.
Right. And so what happens when once you've started work and let's say you're doing a preview for the director? Has there ever been a
Hmm.
situation where you realize you're not aligning entirely with the director's vision? Maybe you've come up with
Um,
something very different, for better or for
uh,
worse. But
See, hello. Yeah, I kind of understand your question. If that was it. So yeah, there's some very rarely, but I mean, I would say, I mean, I don't know how it's not happened much to me where it was completely off or the director was completely off. So that's a good thing. But
hmm,
definitely there are places where the director believes that this is how it should sound. I've done something different. It might be a lot different. It might be just like the difference in a particular sound. There has been no incidents where it was completely like something else. I don't know what the reason could be. That is also we look at it from a very sound point of view, and the directors look at it from a overall experience. Like overall experience, they might not have actually visioned it like this. So most
hmm,
of the time, it's a good surprise. Most of the
okay,
time, it's a good surprise.
right,
But there have been places, sometimes they want a change. So then, see, at the end of the day, I understand that I am not here to put my vision. I am here to help the director put their vision on the
right,
screen.
right,
Filmmaking is a very director's art. If you ask me, I would say that film direction is a very director's art. We as an entire team are there to help him achieve his vision.
Ajit,
Right?
yeah,
That is my point of view. I mean, there could be a difference of opinions, but if the director is still convinced, I tell them that this is the wrong sound,
ah,
and the director says that I know, but I don't know, I like this feel. Somehow whatever, I'm okay. Let's go ahead with it. It's okay. Then I try and make that sound as best
right,
as possible,
right,
as I don't know, like I would say, like very what's the right word? As gracefully, however you can use that sound, so that it doesn't
yeah,
really stand out of the film.
yeah,
So we try
yeah,
and do that. Yeah.
right. And So lately, there's been this discussion. I was reading about this internationally. There's been a bit of a commentary on how loud music, background music, tends to be in mixes nowadays. What's your
Hmm.
opinion on that? Is that something that you've noticed as well?
See, internationally, I don't know, but India, we were always loud.
Mm,
So internationally, I think they are just catching up. We are
mm,
far ahead. So, well, it will take some time for them to, I think, reach our standards. But it's a truth. See, now every film that we make here, it's all how. See, the art of a place influence is influenced by the culture of that place.
right.
Correct. And we as people are very loud people.
Yeah.
We are generally very loud. We have a lot of like so many things happening in our lives.
Right.
There are a lot of festivals. So generally, I think we are generally a loud crowd,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that shows in our films. That shows in our movies. Uh, we make it. Say, for example, our food is all very spicy. It's very happening, right? We are
Yeah.
not going to put one vegetable and put some salt and pepper, and we are not going to eat that unless you're sick. We cook it, मतलब उसका जान निकाल देंगे हम लोग. And we make a lot of masala and make it spicier, so it's the same thing. So I think that's it. So loudness is definitely there, and there is a tendency to get louder because what happens is when you get too attached to your product, you overlook the loudness part.
Mm,
This is very psychoacoustic. This is very psychoacoustic, I would say, property. Like say for example, if you have worked on a movie and if it's playing at a certain level versus you're watching a movie that is done by someone else, and technically both the meters read the same, I will feel that mine is softer.
right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I will
Right.
always feel, I've always had this discussion that how is that YouTube trailer sounding louder than this YouTube trailer versus that YouTube trailer? And the thing is now YouTube plays everything at the same level
Yeah.
nowadays because they have
Yeah.
a limit. You can push it up as much as you want, but you'll still hear only that much.
Right.
And sometimes people ask me, man, both the films I've done the trailers, and then they do, उसमें क्या किया? कि मतलब, how is that louder than this? Or
Right.
rather, why is there's no difference? That content is different. This content
Yeah.
is different. Someone else
Yeah.
has worked on that. This is your work on. So you are looking at it in a very, very different mind space, And you
Mm,
that is louder. हमारा मतलब it can be pushed little more. There's no point in anything. I mean, this is a constant comparison. We all, I think a lot of everybody must have go in their respective ways.
right.
You look at things like that. Yeah.
But it doesn't bother you, like, let's say you go to the mix and certain decisions are taken to kind of put music and kind of almost kill the sound effects that you very painstakingly put. Does that bother you, or you're like kind of going with the vision at that point?
No, see, it bothers me, of course, but then if it does good to the film, it's okay.
Right.
Because see, it is. So there are some places where you need to treat this musically. You
Hmm.
decided that you need to treat it musically.
Hmm.
Then there is a certain way that you can treat the sound effects so that you can
Hmm.
enjoy both.
Hmm.
Okay, wait, we've done that. I mean, like say for example, song sequences, but there are some effects that can enhance the whole feel. So
Right.
you just take a call and you just select very selectively use only those sounds.
Right.
That
Right.
is one way. Otherwise, if you are trying to compete with the music or the music is trying to compete with the sound effects, then everybody loses.
Hmm.
That is
Yeah.
not going to sound like a good mix.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
is not something to going to sound like it's been done by the. It's like together.
Right.
So there are places where we try both. Like say for example, I generally feel that okay, this can be done with effects and this needs to be with effects because it's
Hmm.
so important part of the script that you have to look at it like that. And we try it with effects. The director understands that he's convinced he gets the feel. There are places where music is muted, simply muted. or completely taken down, keep the music as it
Right.
feels. It
Right.
all depends on what the scene is, how the scene is, how the director looks at it, how the director feels about it, and of
Right.
course, how good each department has done their work.
Right.
But if it's a very generic music and it's great sound design, then there is a tendency to go with the sound design.
Right.
Or if you just put some tracks and the music is and you'll be like, "Acha, it's okay." So they could, I mean, it's all on that actually.
Right.
So
Right.
so the good point is that if you've always done a great job, then there are good chances that at least we can certainly we
Hmm.
can have like a balance.
Yeah.
Or sometimes if it's like such an intense sound design scene, there are places where the music is completely muted and the scene survives on sound. And it's not about commercial film versus non-commercial film. It has happened
Right.
everywhere. It has
Yeah.
happened all through. So, yeah.
Right. So you're working with presumably crazy deadlines and a lot of work pressure. Um, how do you kind of tackle? Do you take this kind of stress home, and how do you kind of manage a work-life balance in the middle of all this?
See, I don't really bifurcate it like that, work and life. And I mean, luckily for us, I'm saying
Hmm.
luckily for people like us, it's not about going to work the next day, right?
Ah,
Because it's a part of life. I mean,
right.
you edit from your home, you know better. You also have a studio at home. So that is very, I mean, like, why bifurcate? I don't really carry my work home or home to work. I mean, there is nothing like that.
Okay.
There's nothing like that. I mean, I could
Okay.
get an idea even when I'm just watching somebody like talk. I mean, like generally when I come home and I'm talking about or talking to my wife, and I might suddenly get an idea, and she might sometimes get irritated about it, but still, I immediately I call somebody and get, "Hey, why did we try this?" That has happened,
Right.
which is cool.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, they also understand that.
Yeah.
But stress wise, I've not actually had that much. I think earlier stages of my career, I might have had
Hmm.
that because I'm just still getting used to that lifestyle.
Yeah.
So then
Yeah.
you actually, you have, what do you say, like, you're under a lot of pressure to, work and learn and, do good job and, track a particular scene.
Yeah.
Now that has become a part of my life. So it doesn't stress me out so much.
Right.
And also in my studio, what happens is always there are multiple projects happening.
Right.
So at some point, one is in the mix and another is the edit, and something like this always happening. Or there's an outside project I'm working on, plus wire mix is happening. So that is very. I find that very. I mean, I'm in good space when that happens.
Sure.
I like that because I'm not
Yeah.
attached to this one thing and looking at it and trying.
Ah.
I break out of it, and then when I come back, it's a new way of looking at it, and I
Mm.
really enjoy that process also.
Yeah.
Like, so otherwise I don't work too late now. I come at around whatever maybe in the morning, and then I leave early evening. I mean, gone are those days where I used to have to sit, and I try to make that for my team also, that
Yeah.
nobody's overworked. It's
Very
not
important. Yeah.
because I'm in a position to leave the work onto somebody. No one in my team will complain you about taking stress, because I
Ah.
don't believe in that you put somebody in stress and you can expect good work from them. I never seen that.
Right.
You have to enjoy your work. You have to need your breaks. You work a certain time, get a good sleep, and then
Yeah.
next day we can come back and I schedule the work like that. I mean,
Right.
that's how I've always tried to do. So I don't think
Right.
that's a big problem.
Great. And lastly, is there anything about the process or about your particular field of work, which is sound design? Is there anything that you would want to change?
There is nothing that I want to change, but also sometimes we do that is that include sound music more into sound design and sound design more into music, like two departments coming together a little more probably.
Right.
We have also tried to do that in a lot of movies. Like
Yeah.
suppose I'm done with a sequence, I'll try and
Hmm.
send them a stereo mix And if they have done something already, I request them to also to send me the track so that I know what
Mm.
they've done. And
Yeah.
if there is a
Yeah.
way, then we can work around. So if there is a sequence like there's a movie like that, we generally exchange or not. Also, one
Okay.
point I want to add with the previous this thing is that although you were asking about taking work home and homework, and I told you that kind of schedule it like that. Towards the final mix, there are times when everything comes together, and that will
Ah.
happen almost every time that happens. Huh? Like the last minute, the VFX has come in. Now, 2 days later or next day evening, you need the print, and VFX has just come down. So we are all prepared for that. So that doesn't add to the stress because we initially, right in the middle of the schedule, we tell them. We all know. My entire team knows that ki, acha, this is the release date. These days we are going to be sitting in the studio till 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the morning until we finish that. So we are prepared for it. So it doesn't come as a surprise. So there is no stress over it because we always do that, and it
Right.
always happens.
Right. Of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Great. Great. I think this was really fascinating, this conversation. And for me to even understand, because I think we are all just so involved with our own work. It's
Mhm.
nice to get another perspective on how we are, creating films and series and so on. So thank you so
Mhm.
much, Ganesh. This is really enlightening. And I
Antara,
think,
it was wonderful, wonderful actually talking to you, and it's really appreciate this initiative that you've taken, not just for us, because I remember that when we started in the industry, I had no clue about what is happening elsewhere, right?
yeah, yeah.
We know about, I mean, you don't know even what is happening in your department completely because what you are an assistant editor or assistant sound editor and you become editor. So that journey is usually, and that time we do not have enough content or we don't even have the courage to go and approach like a big sound designer,
Yeah.
so-called big sound designer, and ask them, "Ki, "Acha, how do you work?"
Yeah.
And I think this initiative that you've taken is really great because you can just sit at your house and just learn a lot of things. You can understand how things. You can have your own ideas.
Yeah.
You understand. You get a more good, decent picture of how all things happen.
Yeah, exactly. I do hope, I mean, that is the intention, and I hope it helps someone or a few people at least to kind of learn more about post production in general and the fabulous artists like yourself who are working in post production. So, thank you so much, Ganesh, for being on this series.
Thank you, Antara, and all the best. Good luck with this
Thank
show.
you.
If you enjoyed this video, then please like it, share it, comment on it, and subscribe to this channel so you're tuned in for our upcoming episodes.